What's up, everybody? And today we're talking about the island every superpower wants. America already nuked it once. This is by the legendary Fat Electrician. It's been a hot minute since I've watched any of his videos. And so I figured, considering I covered some of the stuff about Greenland recently when it was all being talked about all over the news, when Trump was talking all about his stuff and things, I think it would be quite interesting to see the Fat Electrician's take on this and a little bit of storytelling in there as well, because we know how good he is at storytelling. Listen, if you're not already subscribed to the Fat Electrician, firstly, you're a fool. You're an absolute fool. Secondly, go subscribe. There's a link down below. Also, before we get started, check out Chug. 10% off, link down below for the best drinking vessel in the world. I've had way too much caffeine. I've had too much morale today. I'm all over. I'm bouncing off the walls. I've been listening to Olivia Dean. That happy music, that feel-good music. I'm all over the place. I've been drinking my morale out me Chug. Having a bit of a dance. 10% off, link down below. Go get yourself one. Handmade here in the UK. Using sustainable materials by a small business. Ships to America. You'll look like an absolute fucking legend while you drink your drink. Go get yourself one. Also, go check out Morale if you haven't already. My new business. I worked really hard on making this drink. It would be really cool if you went and checked it out. Drinkmorale.com. Link down below. Follow the socials for all outdoor content, because I love to get myself outside and go for a little frolic in a field. I like to go for a wander. I like to cause a ruckus outside in nature. You know what I mean, boys? You know what I mean? I like to get out there, stretch me legs, and I want you to come with me. So go check out the content, link down below. Right, I'll shut up now. I'll shut up. How long did that take? It's less than 2 minutes, considering the amount of caffeine I have had. I think I did that pretty quick, to be honest with you. All right, come on. Fat Electrician, what have you got for me? Let me turn on subbies for all those people who like to read.
You know, after going on tour a couple of times doing live shows, I've met tens of thousands of fans, and one of the biggest comments that I get is, I wish you were my history teacher in high school. I probably would have actually learned something.
Ooh.
So I thought it would be cool to make a video on what it would be like if I was teaching a history class.
Oh, is that so?
And in my opinion, one of the most important things a history teacher can do is demonstrate to their class that history is important, because history can be the best predictor of the future.
True.
And it can help you understand current events. So
True.
today, I'm going to try to do just that.
True that.
Today we're talking about that time that America accidentally nuked Greenland. I mean, technically we dropped the nuke right on their coastline, but potato, potato. And then that time that we accidentally carved a massive nuclear missile launch facility in the side of a glacier inside of Greenland. And when I say accidentally, I don't mean we accidentally built it. I meant we accidentally got caught. And somewhere along the way, we're gonna answer the question, why is America suddenly obsessed with buying and or taking over Greenland?
This is interesting. He doesn't really get into, like, new news. Obviously, the desire of America wanting Greenland is not new news, is it? Per se, right? And he's getting into some history here, but it is a current topic. Like, presidents of America have been wanting Greenland for years, but obviously it's more prevalent now. So it's interesting that it's kind of touching on that a bit, isn't it?
Newsflash for you, it's not sudden. America's been obsessed with acquiring Greenland since the 1800s.
There you go.
We're gonna get into it right after a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Element. Okay.
I gotta skip the sponsors. If you know, you know.
Get a free sample pack with your order. Now let's get back to the video. All right, class, our story begins in 1867. The American Civil War has just ended, and the American Secretary of State, William Seward, has decided that he wants to try to purchase Alaska from Russia. Why does he want to purchase Alaska? Can he tell the future? Does he know that Alaska is going to be one of the most strategically valuable pieces of land on the entire planet? No, he does not. He pretty much wants to purchase Alaska for the sole reason so that Britain can't have it. Is it petty? Yes, but also based. In order to accomplish this, he calls upon somebody.
I think that would be a shit bit of land for Britain to own, though, to be honest with you. It's in a place that is too far away logistically for Britain to really make the most of it. I don't know if Britain even would have. It got to a point with the British Empire where they just started being like, you know what, that's just too much, that. I don't want that. I don't want that. And they kind of started just like rolling back a bit, didn't they? Just at the end of the empire. I don't know whether Alaska would have been. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong there. But I just feel like it would be a very. I mean, we've got the Falklands, haven't we? The Falklands Islands. And they're still part of Britain. There is other colonies like that, but Alaska's big as well, isn't it? Massive.
Even pettier than him, the American diplomat to Russia, the legendary Cassius Clay, the most gangster politician of all time. Together, they broker a deal to purchase Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million, a whopping 2 cents an acre. Now, with the benefit of hindsight, understanding that Alaska is full of natural resources, on top of that, it is very important geographically for military strategy, it is seen as one of the greatest real estate deals of all time.
Yeah.
But that's not really how everybody saw it in 1867.
God, that price is insane, isn't it?
Because they didn't know that yet, so they interpreted this as, we just got out of the Civil War, we're broke, and you guys are spending $7.2 million buying a frozen wasteland where nobody wants to live. What a waste of fucking money.
It's a wash. Well, why you do it then, baby Billy? Well, because I'm selfless.
William Seward, on the other hand, is not deterred. He just got one deal done. He wants to keep the momentum going. He looks around and he's like, what else can I buy? And then he sees another frozen wasteland, Greenland. He sends surveyors over there. They bring back reports. He's trying to justify to Congress of why we should buy Greenland. He's in talks with Denmark, trying to purchase it from Denmark. The word is he wants to pay $5.5 million. However, due to the public backlash from Alaska and them not wanting to buy another frozen wasteland, the deal never comes to fruition, even though he really wanted to. And this kicks off.
That's a shame as well, isn't it, really? Because how would history look differently if they did have it at that time? Especially with, yeah, I mean, even throughout the whole of history, it would have looked so much different, wouldn't it?
Off America's long-held tradition of trying to buy Greenland from Denmark. Fast forward to the next time that we tried to acquire it. 1910, President Taft decides that he wants to buy Greenland. Why? Is it because he wants to be petty just so the British can't have it? No, not this time. He actually has a good plan and a good reason for wanting it. You see, a couple of years prior to this, a U.S. naval officer and historian by the name of Alfred Thayer Mann came out with his book that kind of revolutionized the world's understanding of global warfare. And this book is called The Influence of Sea Power Upon History. Now, the real quick and dirty of this book is basically he asserts the...
It sounds like it could be a good book, but it also sounds very textbook-esque, that, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Like, it might be a bit of a hard read, that, eh?
Point that a large navy is better than having a large army.
You think you're so great because you have boats!
He basically makes the point that while big armies are cool, I mean, big armies are always cool, big armies also have big stomachs, and when you're talking about global warfare, you need to be able to transport large quantities of food.
Big army, big logistics. No, actually, let me rephrase that. Big army, bigger logistics.
Food and supplies across the planet, and you're going to need a navy to do that. Otherwise, you're not going to have a big army for long. When you really condense and boil this down, he's basically saying that trade routes, aka logistics, is the most important part of global warfare.
100%.
Whoever has the best logistics is probably going to win. So
I mean, I feel like that's become an obvious thing now. Like, that's something that everybody's well aware of. The fact that the US can ship things around the globe so quickly with the infrastructure and the equipment and the vehicles they have, the air superiority of shipping things and the giant fleet that they've got. Logistically, America is just dominant in that place. I mean, they're dominant in most places, but it just makes more sense these days, doesn't it? Maybe back then it wasn't as easy to see.
It becomes, how do you control the trade routes? Well, you could build a gigantic navy and just have them out on the ocean roaming around 24/7, or you could identify the geographic choke points and just control the choke point where you know the enemy is going to have to pass through, and then you could fight them there in that narrow gap. So that becomes America's global strategy, is to identify trade choke points and then own the land adjacent to those choke points, and that land functionally becomes a giant unsinkable battleship where you can harbor all of your navy and guard that choke point. You control the trade routes, you basically control the world, which is why in 1910 he tries to get his hands on Greenland, because it is one of these choke points. The only way to get from the North Atlantic and the Arctic is to travel between one of two gaps, the gap between Greenland and Iceland, or the gap between Iceland and the UK. So Taft identifies this as a choke point and he tries to buy it. He goes to Denmark and he's like, hey, we kind of want this giant frozen wasteland that you've got here. Don't worry about why. We've got these 2 Filipino islands under our control. We're willing to trade those to you in exchange. Denmark refuses. So it's looking like Denmark doesn't want to sell any of its empire, but then in 1917, 7 years later, America reapproaches Denmark and is like, hey, we know you're not looking to sell Greenland. However, you have these islands over here that are now called the Virgin Islands, and we need a bunch of forward operational bases and fueling stations for our global empire's navy. Would you be willing to sell it? And Denmark is like, sure, $25 million. America purchases the Virgin Islands from Denmark for $25 million. And this kind of keeps alive the hope or the idea idea that maybe one day in the future, Denmark will be willing to sell Greenland as well.
Do you think it's the fact that in modern times, the idea of another country being in charge of a country that already has their own kind of way of living is seen as a negative no matter what, right? So like, let's say, I don't know, I'm trying to give a random example. Let's say Greenland was like, how can I give the example? Scotland and England, right? Let's pretend Scotland and England aren't actually part of the UK, right? And Scotland's like, look, we're struggling with the economy. We're in a strategic place, blah, blah, blah. And England's like, we'll have you. There's automatically a negative, like, feeling behind another country taking charge of a country that's already established. There is these days. Back in the day, that was like, in fact, throughout history, for the rest of history, for the whole of humanity, that's been a kind of a normal thing, hasn't it? But these days, there's so much of a negative connotation around it that maybe the fact that, yes, it might be, you know, a strategic place, it might have good resources, even if the people on that place want to be a part of the place approaching them, it's still seen as a negative. With that being said, I don't know what the people of Greenland actually think about this. Because what happens if all of Greenland are like, you know what? Yeah, we want this. Then what? I've always said that about the referendum in Scotland of when they were, remember when they voted for independence, Scotland? I always said, I love I'm literally, my mum's side of the family is Scottish. They're all McNabs, right? We go up to the burial ground in Killing all the time. My granddad's ashes are there. It's like a place I go. Scotland is my summer childhood memories, right? But if Scotland were like, we don't want to be part of the UK anymore, and they all agreed on it, then obviously just go, right? Like, all of a sudden, if you're like, no, you can't go, you become like a toxic ex. Do you know what I mean? And so if a country unites and says, we want to shift, you know, to ownership of another country, I think that is completely valid. But even then, I still think there's a negative connotation around it. Do you agree with that? I'd love to know your thoughts on that.
For the early morning hours of April 9th, 1940, Germany invades Denmark. Okay, fast forward again, lunchtime, April 9th, 1940, Germany has conquered Denmark. It took about 6 hours.
Took them one day.
Okay, that kind of sounds like I'm talking smack. I'm not. That's just factually what happened. If I was talking smack, I would be like, what the fuck is going on over in Denmark? The Polish had a post office in Danzig that managed to hold out against the Nazis for 15 hours, and your whole country folded in 6? What are you guys doing? Okay, look, I'm just saying, when the Polish mail carriers are outperforming your entire military, it's not a good look. Buh, they were ambushed and caught off guard. That's not fair. Buh. Yeah, that's cope. I'm sorry. I'm not buying the statement that the Polish mailmen had better operational intel as to what the Nazis were up to than an entire country's military.
The mailman was doing OPs around the corner, checking out the army coming, weren't they? Prepping.
Military, okay? Moving on. Regardless, Greenland is now defenseless. America already wants Greenland. On top of that, they definitely don't want the Nazis taking over Greenland and putting, you know, forward weather stations and airstrips and all kinds of shit they're going to need for war to attack the US one day. So America immediately moves in. Now, legally speaking, America has no authority to do this. Factually speaking, who the fuck's going to stop them? Because it sure as shit ain't Denmark.
Damn.
So about a year later, America decides, okay, we should probably make this, you know, legal so we have an excuse to actually have this humongous military presence in Greenland. Cue this man, Heinrich Kaufmann, Denmark's ambassador in the United States of America. He's living in the US when Denmark is invaded. So obviously, not a huge fan of the Nazis. They just conquered his entire country. So he goes to the American government and is like, look, I'm willing to sign pretty much whatever you want. He signs the Greenland Defense Agreement, which basically just says, Denmark still owns Greenland. However, the United States can do whatever the fuck they want there. You want to build airstrips, occupy it with your military, go for it.
Say that again?
To which the American government is like, I'm sorry, you're just the ambassador. Do you have the authority to do this? Like, did the Danish government sign off on this? And he's like, no, not at all. They're actually going to charge me with high treason for this. But as far as I'm concerned, they're all under Nazi occupation. We can't trust anything they say. And I think this is what the king would want. So I'm going to go ahead and give you permission to do it. So you're just like one guy going rogue with no actual authority to do this on behalf of your country. They're actually going to nickname me the King of Greenland after this. Good enough for me. Send in the troops.
And they will have felt grateful and encouraged when the president expressed his hope for a speedy liberation of Denmark, and they heard the president's assurance that Greenland will remain Danish. In this world of broken treaties, they know the word of the American people and their government can be trusted.
The Danish government then goes on to charge Heinrich with high treason, tells him to come back home to face his punishment.
I didn't know any of this.
He's like, stays living in America for the rest of World War II. After World War II, returns home when the government is back to normal and he is welcomed as a hero. So World War II ends, 1946. Now we've got a problem because Denmark kind of wants their territory back, but also America has spent a ton of money developing all of these defenses and airstrips and all kinds of shit all over Greenland. They've got a lot of money invested. They kind of want something out of it.
And I'm sure at this point as well, because of the Cold War and all this that's going on and kind of ramping up after World War II, you would expect there to be other motives for America to keep a lot of this space.
Better yet, to just own it as a whole. So President Truman goes to the Danish government and is like, I will give you $100 million in straight gold if you sell me Greenland.
I love gold.
To which the Danish government is like,
I love Austin
counteroffer,
Powers.
we're not going to sell you Greenland. You can keep your gold, but we're willing to sign the Defense of Greenland Agreement. To which the American government is like, okay, I'm listening. What are the terms of this agreement? Well, basically, we still own Greenland, but you can go ahead and stay there, occupy it, have a huge military presence there, and more or less act like you own it, but on paper, we still own it. I'm sorry, your counteroffer is that you want me to keep all my money and then just continue occupying Greenland and act like I own it. Deal?
Damn good deal.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest here. I don't know what's worse, Denmark's ability to defend itself from the Nazis or their negotiating ability, because that is some insane negotiating tactics. This would literally be like...
I'm sure there's other motives behind these things though, right? Financial motives and stuff. It's not that simple.
Walking up to your dream house that's not for sale, it's not on the market, so you like go up, ring the doorbell, the homeowner answers, you're like, hey, I really like this house, I know it's not for sale, I'm gonna overpay you for it. I'll give you $10 million if you sell me this house. And the homeowner's like, counteroffer, you can keep your money, I'll move out, you can move in and just act like you own the place for free. Okay, I don't even know what's going on anymore.
Is this a test?
Regardless, World War II is over, so America kind of just like abandons a lot of their little military outposts that they have on Greenland, and there's really no use for it anymore. Fast forward to 1951, the Cold War's heating up,
Yeah,
and
here we
now
go.
we're worried about the Soviets attacking. We've got Alaska guarding us on one side, we're wide open on the other side. We need another big base in Greenland.
Well, they're not necessarily wide open. I get what he's saying because of Greenland, but obviously at this point as well, the unity between a lot of European countries and America was growing at this point, wasn't it? It was actually growing quite substantially quick. The relationship was very, very strong at that point, post-World War II. Oh my God. So I get his argument about being like vulnerable on that side, but at the same time, it's not like they had no one keeping an eye on that part. Does that make sense?
On top of that, we also want to control Greenland because man's strategy still applies, and now it's more adopted doctrine. The gaps that we talked about earlier between Greenland and Iceland and the UK
I think the gap between Iceland and Greenland was probably more of a threat at that point than the gap between Iceland and the UK, because obviously the UK, and right after World War II, the UK and America became Bezzy friends. We still are to some extent, but the relationship there got really, really strong, didn't it? And so my presumption is that gap it was probably still a worry to America because the UK was recovering substantially after World War II. We took a massive hit compared to America. You have to remember the war was literally on our front door. We had bombings. Old Trafford, where my football team, Manchester United, play, was bombed, right? So the recovery was taking a long time for the UK. And so that threat was definitely there. But I think between Iceland and Greenland, it would have been way more worrying because the UK could not have looked after that whatsoever, I'm sure, at that point.
actually has a term now, the GU gap. And now it's even more important because now not only does America need to control it for trade routes, they also need to control it to prevent Soviet submarines from entering the Atlantic and getting close to America. So in 1951, America launches Operation Blue Jay, where they go in and construct an entire air base, Thule Air Base, in 104 days, which is a massive logistical flex, showing off to the entire world. They make a whole documentary. They promote the holy shit out of it to show off to the Soviets. This is what we're capable of, and now we also have this air base that you're gonna have to deal with if you want to fuck with us. Okay, so now we're defended by the Soviets, everything's good. Fast forward to 1957, the Soviets have a big year. They have their first successful intercontinental ballistic missile test, and they launch Sputnik 1, which is the first satellite to orbit the planet. This scares the holy shit out of the American public and the US military because, well, I mean, they have a missile that can now reach America, and they have a satellite up in the sky above our heads. They can obviously target and reach us anywhere they want. That's not actually true. They didn't really have that capability, at least not to the degree that everybody feared, but that was the fear. And this is where the Cold War era concept of mutually assured destruction, or MAD, comes into play. Which, if you don't know, is basically the concept of like, hey, America's got a bunch of nukes, the USSR has a bunch of nukes, so we're just not gonna nuke each other because as soon as I detect that you're gonna nuke me, I'm gonna retaliate and nuke you, and then we're all dead. And
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that's keeping the world together at the moment, let's be honest.
this causes Alaska and Greenland to both become even more important because now they're going to be hosting early warning systems to detect Soviet missiles if they end up firing them, and that's going to give America enough time to ideally respond with their own nukes. But the problem is that in 1957, America doesn't have ICBMs yet. We're not going to have an ICBM until 1959, so the only way to maintain this mutually assured destruction is to have these early warning systems in place and to literally have the pilots and the nukes loaded on the plane, and the pilots are literally going to live and sleep on this plane, being ready to take off in a matter of minutes if they detect a Soviet missile inbound. So that's what's going on. Fast forward to 1959, America gets...
And that's all on a documentary? Kind of want to watch that. It looks old, black and white. It's probably got that weird, you know, old school American voiceover on it, but kind of want to watch it.
ICBMs. You want to know what would go great with our new ICBMs? A secret underground layer to launch all our ICBMs from. Well, technically it's not underground. It's going to be under ice. We're going to go to Greenland where there's this like mile thick ice sheet, and we're going to carve a secret underground tunnel network into this ice sheet and use it to launch all of our missiles. And this is going to be a top secret project known as Project Iceworm. And on paper, it's a brilliant idea because this is going to be concealed under all of the ice. It's going to be away from mainland America. So it's basically going to be immune to a Soviet first strike because they're not going to be able to identify where it's at. It's up in the Arctic. It's hard to get to. And even if you do get there, there's no identifying terrain features. It's just white ice wasteland.
Seems like all a good idea so far, but I'm sure there's some sort of negative to it.
Land absolutely everywhere. The Soviets are never going to be able to find it. Off paper, just, you know, as a guy, as an electrician, a dude that's built a lot of stuff, the idea of building an entire nuclear base out of ice kind of seems like a stupid idea because...
No, they're not building out of ice. They're building it in the ice, right?
I know this is going to be shocking to many of you. Ice fucking melts.
Yeah, but it's a mile under the ground. It's going to take a long time for that to melt, isn't it? Let's be honest. I think you can prepare before it actually gets to you.
But hey, what do I know? I mean, I'm just some dude that makes a living selling t-shirts on his YouTube
That's what he said, right? A mile under the ground. Maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe it was supposed to be just underneath the ground and it'd be a bit different.
Channel. I'm sure the scientists and the people put in charge of trillions of tax dollars are much smarter than me, and it's going to work out fine. Let's see what happens.
We call this foreshadowing.
So in 1959, they start building this secret under ice base, and pretty quickly, the people from Denmark are like, hey, what the fuck you guys doing? And even though America has a treaty that pretty much says they can do whatever they want on Greenland, they also can't really tell the Danish people what they're doing for a couple of reasons. One, it's a secret, and two, they're gonna be fucking pissed. You see, at this point in time, Denmark has a pretty solid stance on like, we don't want anything to do with this nuclear arms race. They're sitting there watching America and the USSR basically have a pissing contest to see who could blow up the world the best, and Denmark is like, we don't want anything to do with this because if you start building nuclear facilities on Greenland or our land or anything associated with us, we become a target. We don't want that target painted on our back, which
I think that's a valid, at the time, that's a valid reason for it to the pause there. That's a valid reason for them not to put it there.
To be fair, is completely reasonable. So the American government is like, okay, we'll stop. No, I'm just kidding. They fucking lie. They then proceed to turn this into a humongous PR campaign where they tell Denmark and the rest of the world that they're building something called Camp Century. And Camp Century is basically framed as one giant experiment / showing off contest.
Oh, so it's not actually that far. I thought he said it was a mile underground. I think maybe he was just describing how big the ice sheet actually is and not necessarily how far down the base is. Imagine digging a mile under. I bet there is a base that's a mile under the ground. There's gotta be. The amount of secrets America has, there'll be a base a mile under the ground, right? Am I like watching too many sci-fi shows or something?
Where America's gonna go in there, build this massive under ice base, showing off American logistics and American construction capability. And then once we do that, we're gonna have a bunch of people go and live in this under ice base where they never see the sun as a huge social experiment to see how people handle living underground in close quarters with one another in case people did ever have to go underground because of nuclear fallout.
Okie dokie.
Okay, now on one hand, that sounds kind of fucking stupid.
Is that, if someone's watched that Fallout show, is it worth watching? I've not seen it yet. I like the games. I've played the games. But I haven't watched the show.
But on the other hand, this is the American government, so that makes complete sense. Sure, go ahead and build your underground experiment. So the Americans get to work. First things first, how are we going to power this thing? Okay, if we have to ship diesel fuel for generators all the way into the Arctic Ocean, that's going to be a humongous logistical strain, so that's not ideal. You know what would be cool? We could build the world's first portable nuclear reactor and then ship it to the Arctic and then install it in our fucking freezer base. Now,
Jesus Christ. Who comes up with them ideas? Just like saying that out loud is insane, isn't it? Christ.
next question, how are we going to get fresh drinking water? Well, we are surrounded by ice. You can't drink ice. We got to figure out some way to melt it. So they go
Yeah, but you can't. You're consuming the base around you at that point, aren't you?
inside the base. They drill a gigantic hole straight down and then just basically drop a space heater into it and then proceed to melt the ice in the hole, basically creating a giant well of fresh glacial ice.
I think that's a bad idea. Surely it's going to destroy the integrity of the base.
Say that again, but slower. They're going to melt a bunch of the ice underneath their base, which is made out of ice. Absolutely nothing could go wrong. And then we're not even going to touch on the fact that like ancient bacteria and viruses, like, I don't know, the bubonic plague can all get frozen and trapped inside of glacial ice and be preserved there. And then once thawed out can be completely active and back to normal. And then that's the water that we're going to be drinking. That we're not even, we'll filter the water. It'll be fine.
There's water from a glacier.
Regardless, America's building this giant base. Okay, fast forward 1 year, 1960. Again, Soviets managed to scare the shit out of the Americans. Okay, at this point, the Soviet Union, they're not doing too hot, but they're not about to let the Americans know that. So Nikita Khrushchev comes out and he tells the Americans that they're mass producing ICBMs like sausages. And again, this scares the Americans because it potentially breaks the concept of mutually assured destruction because America only has the capability to shoot down so many nukes that are incoming. If the Soviets, you know, manage to launch thousands of nukes all at once and they're launching, I don't know, 50 nukes at one nuclear facility, but America can only stop 20 of them, they're still going to be able to destroy that nuclear facility, meaning America won't have time to respond with their nukes, meaning that the Soviet Union is more inclined to destroy America because mutually assured destruction is no longer intact. Okay, we can't have that, so America...
It's like a very fine line for balance in there, isn't it? At the same time, God, I wish no one had nukes at all. It's kind of a shit thing, isn't it, really?
Got to do something. We're going to go back to older...
Also, what's that scar on his arm? Right next to my head? Seen that? On the pattern there? Wonder what happened there.
Reliable. We're going to go back to having the nukes loaded on the planes with the pilots ready. The problem is ICBMs have improved over the last couple of years, and being able to have the planes in the air in 10 minutes isn't going to be fast enough because the nukes could still hit in that 10-minute gap, still destroying the concept of MAD. So now the only thing America can do is launch Operation Chrome Dome, one of the greatest names for a mission ever, where America is just going to have planes in the air 24/7 all day, every day, for years. Okay, I'm not exaggerating. We actually did this. We loaded nuclear warheads onto B-52 heavy bombers and just had them doing hot laps around the entire continent of North America all day, every day, 24/7. That way the planes are...
Oh my God. Imagine how much that cost. The logistics behind it just shows how much money the American military industrial complex had then. Now it's even crazier.
Already in the air, so once America detects that the nukes are inbound, they're just going to radio the pilots, hey, we're all going to die. They fired the nukes. The pilots are going to be like, copy. They're going to change course, break out of their hot lap, and beeline it to the USSR and bomb them back. Can you imagine having that pilot's job? Like, I'm going to go to work. It's going to be super boring, or it's going to be the apocalypse. There's no in between.
Yeah.
Sounds so bad.
Anyways, that goes on for years. Fast forward to 1963, going back over to our secret project Iceworm, our glacier base.
I just felt like a shake. It felt almost like an earthquake. That was really weird. It felt like a thump on the ground. Hopefully no ICBM just hit us.
You're never going to believe this. We have to abandon the project because the ice is fucking melting. Luckily, obviously, this was predictable and everybody saw this coming, so they had a plan to evacuate and take out everything with them. No, I'm just kidding. They basically grabbed all the important shit. They took the nuclear reactor, all the other super important stuff, and took that back to America, and then just left a bunch of other military equipment and, you know, radioactive waste and fuel and all kinds of other toxic shit inside the ice, thinking that the ice would just, you know, freeze over and it would stay frozen in this glacier forever. Okay, look, I'm the most pro-America dude on the planet, but seriously, we gotta work on our pullout game because historically...
I swear someone's in my office. I swear it. Let me see. Who's here? I'll have a fight, I will. I'll kick off, I will. Love a fight. What the fuck? Does anyone else, if there's any veterans who watch this, when there's like a potential of someone breaking into your house or whatever, does it give you like a little bit of excitement? Because I love confrontation. I was talking to someone about this the other day. I love confrontation. Is that weird? So when it kind of like gets a bit like rowdy, when there's a bit of a ruckus, I kind of like it. I want to. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I'm a bit stupid.
Speaking, we're not good at it.
You were leaving it in. I've been pulling out for years, son.
So, Secret Ice Layer, not going to happen, but we do still have Operation Chrome Dome, and that's going... I mean, it's going. In 1961, there was a crash, and we accidentally dropped 2 of the nukes in North Carolina. Luckily, they didn't detonate. And then in the same year, in 1961, we also accidentally dropped some on California. Luckily, those didn't detonate either. And then in 1964, same thing again happened in Maryland. Got lucky, they didn't detonate. And then in 1966, our luck would run out. On the coastline of Spain in the Mediterranean, a B-52 carrying 4 hydrogen bombs had a mid-air collision with an oil tanker that
Good God. Can you imagine that?
was doing aerial refueling. 2 of the bombs had their conventional explosives detonate, blowing the nuclear material all over the place, contaminating absolutely everything, and it's going to emit radiation for millions of years, so that takes a ton of extensive cleanup. 1 of the bombs fell on land, did not detonate, and was recovered, and the other bomb fell into the Mediterranean and is just sitting down there at the bottom of the ocean, and America has to figure out how to go get it. So Uncle Sam calls up one of his main characters, a guy by the name of Carl Brashear, the first ever black master diver in American history, who lost his leg in an accident and then went on to become the first amputee master diver.
Wait, didn't they make a movie on this? I could have sworn they made a movie about this.
History, and they send him down to the bottom of the ocean in his dive suit, and he is able to recover this nuclear warhead.
Wow.
There's an entire movie about this guy. It's one of my favorite military movies.
I've seen it. It's sick. It's abs. Don't he lose his leg when like a rope snaps or something? I'm pretty sure. It's a sick film. Absolutely. Go watch. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's really good.
Of all time. It's called Men of Honor with Cuba Gooding Jr. You should absolutely watch it if you haven't already. Fast forward again, 1968, Operation Chrome Dome. B-52 pilots are flying thermonuclear warheads that are active off the coast of Greenland. They're headed up into the Arctic. It's getting kind of cold in the cabin, and one of the pilots has a brilliant idea to keep it warm in there. He's gonna, adjust some shit in there, and he's gonna have hot air from the engine manifold flow directly into the cabin. The air coming into the cabin is so hot that it catches the upholstery of the chairs they're sitting on fire.
Oh my
and the crew is
God.
forced to bail out. The plane crashes, the conventional explosives and the nuclear bombs detonate, blowing radioactive material all over the fucking place.
I hope he got fucking arrested for that. What a fool.
And America has to go in there, and there is extensive cleanup that has to happen. On top of that, the Danish government is absolutely pissed that America is flying nuclear warheads over their territory when they specifically told us that they wanted nothing to do with that, and this leads to the end of Operation Chrome Dome.
We need it for national protection. We need Greenland for national protection.
Fast forward to modern times, both 2019 and today, Donald Trump, during both of his presidential terms, has attempted to acquire Greenland. Why does he want Greenland? Well, for all of the reasons that we've already highlighted in this video, all of those are still relevant. But why does he want it right now? Why is it so important right now? In the 1800s, it was important to acquire it so that we could be petty so the British couldn't have it. In World War II, it was important that we had it so the Nazis couldn't have it. During the Cold War, it was important that America had it so the Soviets couldn't have it and be within...
I think a lot of it is to do with natural resources as well, let's be honest. A lot of it is to do with that. Yeah, there's the whole Russia thing and China as well and all this other stuff. But ultimately, I think there's also a lot of resources there.
Striking distance of America, and America can instead use it to defend itself from the USSR. So why is it so important today? It's China.
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 China has been showing a huge interest in Greenland since about 2010. They've offered to build airports on the island. They've offered to help build infrastructure. They've tried to acquire mineral mining rights. They're basically trying to work their way into Greenland so that they have a foothold there as well. And America doesn't want that for obvious reasons. Because of that, America tried what America's always tried. They tried to buy Greenland. And just like always, Denmark said no, and now they've went to the negotiating table to come to some kind of agreement. And we don't know what's going to happen. happen yet. But from what we've heard, it sounds like they're just reaffirming the 1951 Defense of Greenland Agreement, and America is going to be allowed to maintain or potentially grow its military presence on the island with missile radars and troops and all kinds of other stuff. And then potentially they're going to talk about mineral rights.
I think I'm potentially going to talk about mineral rights. Of course they are, because I personally think that's more of an incentive than anything else. That's my opinion. However, I do think that there's a negative connotation still around it. I think this reupholstering this deal and making it a bit more robust and making it a bit more understanding and having a few more ideas there, I think is a good idea. It's the happy medium instead of just taking the country over and then causing a big scene because of it. I think just reaffirming this deal is actually the best option, to be honest with you.
If I had to go out and guess, I would say the Trump administration is going to try to buy the mineral rights for Greenland, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say Denmark is going to say no, but we will agree to also not sell the mineral rights to China, Russia, or anybody else.
Yeah.
If so facto, history repeats itself. America has a reason for wanting Greenland. America offers to buy Greenland. Denmark says no, keep your money. We keep owning it, but you can pretty much do whatever you want. And that is today's history lesson. History is important to know because it is the best predictor of the future. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack, bang, out.
Great video, as always. Is there any clips?
All right, fine. You talked me into it. I'm going to go watch Men of Honor.
Yeah. I want to go watch it now. If you haven't seen it, go watch Men of Honor. It's really, really good film. Great video, giving a brief history on the concept of America taking Greenland. There's some stuff there I honestly didn't know about, like the bases and all that other stuff and how they did the base. I know that America had bases there, but just the way that they went about it, I didn't know. I'd love to know your thoughts on the whole Greenland situation. Now that it's kind of simmered down a little bit and the whole kind of... The news cycle's already moved away from it now. It feels a bit easier to talk about it without having any, I don't know, like unnecessarily biases there. Do you know what I mean? So let me know in the comments. What do you actually think would be the solution? Just to re-bolster this deal? Is that the best option? Stop the minerals from being sold to anyone else? Or do you think buying it's a good idea? Or do you think just leaving it alone is a good idea, which I think is probably the worst idea? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. There'll be a link down below to the Fat Electrician's video. As always, go give it some love. Check out Chug, 10% off, link down below. Go buy yourself some morale if you haven't already. Other than that, I love you all. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.